Okay, so today I have Genesis 32, verse 22 to 31. It says, "The same night he arose and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream, and had everything else that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, 'Let me go, for the day has broken.' But Jacob said, 'I will not let you go unless you bless me.' And he said to him, 'What is your name?' And he said, 'Jacob.' Then he said, 'Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel. For you have striven with God and with men, and have prevailed.' Then Jacob asked him, 'Please tell me your name.' But he said, 'Why is it you ask my name?' And there he blessed him. So Jacob called the name of the Peniel, saying, 'For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered.' The sun rose upon him as he passed Penuel, limping because of his hip.
Getting up here, I don't feel like I have to rush my words anymore. Like, I'm not terrified of you guys anymore when I'm up here. So that's a good thing too. But speaking of wrestling, and I'm gonna age me, and actually some of the people I know that did love wrestling are not here today. So this could sink. But did anyone, like, I would spend every Saturday morning and then whatever night during the week, my dad and we would watch like WWE. And we were convinced, I don't know, I think surely my dad knew it was fake, but I didn't. And I thought it was so exciting and so fun. And I loved all the drama and chairs hitting on people. And I remember my mom was always so angry because my dad would let me watch wrestling. And I just thought it was the best thing ever. Mainly probably because I couldn't watch it, but I was watching it because my dad let me, but my mom didn't want me to. So my favorite wrestler that I remember, there was this Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and I think he was like from Hawaii, and he was a good guy, so that's why I liked him. He wasn't flashy. There was like no snakes or um, anything like that. I don't remember anything flashy about this person. But anyone else? Did anyone else watch WWE? Okay, so what were who were your favorite wrestlers? There you go. Yes, the Ultimate Warrior was a fun one, and he had a lot of neon green. That's what I remember. All right, all right. And I wasn't, this was before like John Cena. This was a long time ago because I am fully realizing now that I am middle aged. And I'm like, oh, I'm like old. But that's okay because it's okay. But Jacob in this story, so I was reading a little bit before, and like, Jacob is a chronic deceiver. He's a schemer. He's a manipulator. He did a lot of dumb things. So, as much as even stealing his brother's birthright by bringing stew, that and all theologians, correct me if I'm wrong, but he made he brought this stew that his brother would typically make, and then he covered his hands in hair so that his dad, who was blind, would think that it was his brother and pass on the birthright. Very, very schemy and underhanded, and very youngest brother of him. And so he steals his birthright. So Esau is is angry. Um, Jacob did something he shouldn't do. And so Jacob is in this place here now, and he's going to go to reconcile with his brother. And so he sends his wives ahead because he's apparently a chicken. And he sends his wives ahead, the cattle, presents. He's going to bribe his way back into Esau's life. And so I imagine if I was Jacob, this night that I'm sleeping alone in the woods, well, A, I wouldn't be sleeping alone in the woods, but B, but if I was Jacob, he's probably pretty scared. Like, what do I expect from my brother? You know, he's going to come meet. What do I expect? I don't know. Is he going to be angry? Is he going to kill me? Is he going to accept us? I don't even know. And so that's where Jacob is. He's looking at his past. And Rembrandt, this painting from 1659, they made a point when I was reading about this painting to say that it was supposed to be like Jacob almost being forced to look at the past, but also in these moments of the present. And so I could kind of see that, like Jacob's being forced in all of this wrestling to look at his whole life. And I think a lot of us are in different stages of wrestling things. And see, I've already lost where I am in my notes. That's how good this is going. But God didn't forget about Jacob. And often in those times when we feel like we are alone and we feel like in this wrestling, God's like, you know what? No, you're not alone. I'm here. But the kicker is that I think God enjoys wrestling with us. I don't think this angel or God or whatever, I don't think God in these moments was like, well, Jacob, I'm real mad at you. And God probably does get mad at us sometimes, but it wasn't because of that. I think he was like, Jacob, you're not alone here in this place. And I enjoy conflict with you. I enjoy arguing with you. I think he was a lot like that with Job. And I think we get this wrong idea of God. So the struggle that Jacob was in was really, really real. And I'm going to use myself as an example only because I think that's the best example I can use. I wrestle with approximately 1,026 things every day. I have generalized anxiety, so I will overanalyze the heck out of anything. I wrestle not so much with deconstruction anymore. I feel like I'm on the other side of that. Thank God. I wrestle with family situations. We have a lot going on right now. I wrestle with job stuff. I'm going to lose my job on January 2nd. Every day I wake up thinking about that. I go to bed thinking about that. And I will wake up thinking about that. Except for if I have a sermon to preach. And then every time I wake up, I'm thinking about that. So I am analyzing and worrying and wrestling all day long, usually about things. And usually it's a nice like level 2 out of 10. Sometimes I'm going through situations, as I know many of you are, because I follow all of your socials. And I know what is happening. So I know that I'm speaking to people who are wrestling with crap right now. And Jacob, in these moments of wrestling, he's laid bare. He doesn't have any, there's nowhere for him to hide, and he has to face his stuff. And whatever stuff we have going on, I'm going to encourage you to keep wrestling. I'm going to encourage you to not stop. But here's why. I also think that the story of Jacob wrestling this angel is a resurrection story. And that's why I chose this Sunday to preach, because I was like, I am a believer. I think I am a resurrection girl. I am all, and I will tell you again and again and again to lean into the pain, to lean into the trauma, to lean into it, and let yourself bleed, let yourself hurt, let yourself feel. Because the end result is life. But we have to die to live, so to speak. And so we see Jacob, he's wrestling, and I remember distinctly, I was in a life group. Courtney, my friend Courtney's here today. She was not at that life group, but I've known her for a long time. And we had someone who was sharing about how they were wrestling with their faith and wrestling with doubts and depression. And I remember so many people saying, well, just don't wrestle. And what on earth kind of advice is that? Like, you don't just shut something off. That's like telling a depressed person, just don't be depressed. Just don't do it. Oh, if we knew it was so easy, we would, that's all it takes. Okay. And I remember telling this person, he was one of our life group leaders, and I was like, Daniel, I said, I think God likes it when we wrestle with him. call me crazy. I know I'm not the most popular person in this life group because I question everything, but I think God likes it. I think he wants us to wrestle with him. You know, like when wrestlers get out there, they're wearing those funny little outfits and they're like, wrestling is intimate. It's skin to skin, it's sweaty, it's stinky and probably snotty and um it's hard. So I think God likes it. I'm gonna say that about another 20 times, likely. But also as we go on in that story, we see that David or Jacob is wounded in this fight. And we are going to get wounded sometimes in those fights. I don't think God protects us from that. I don't think God is, this might be something people disagree with me on, but I don't think he's up there going, I'm orchestrating every second of every day of your very life. And bad things do happen, but I don't think they happen on purpose. I think they happen because life just sucks sometimes. But again, just like Jacob wasn't alone, we're not alone, even when we really are convinced that we're alone. Because that's what I think the world wants us to think that. But we're not. And so Jacob's wrestling, his hip, I don't know if it was wrenched out of its socket. I don't know whatever happened, but it creates a scar. And wounds become scars that bring healing to us. I was reading an article that Nadia Boltweber wrote about this. And she talked about how often, you know, even those of us who walk with a limp after we've went through whatever we've went through, we get to use those scars to bear witness to resurrection. We get to say, but we lived, and we are a different person at the end of it. And there's blessing, I think, in that surrender of being willing to fight and lean into the pain and lean into whatever situations we're going through. So we get to resurrection. I told you this was actually going to be fast. I'm going through this much quicker than I thought I would. Thank you. Thank you. Jacob decides to not fight anymore. He's not fighting to control the situation. He's like, in fact, I'm not going to let go until you bless me. I will fight with you. I will lean in, but I'm not done. And I kind of look at that until you bless me as, and I don't think I'm taking liberties here, but maybe I am a little. But that I'm not letting go, God, until I'm all the way through this thing, whatever that looks like. For me, I always use deconstruction as an example because it started with the most traumatic thing that's ever happened in my life, taking all my beliefs, moving me to Oklahoma, literally shattering everything that I believed. And having this whole like divine moment at my car where God was like, you have to just let it go and you have to surrender to this fight. You have to. If you don't, nothing changes. And you have to. And it's my closest moment, I think, to where I'm like, I really think I heard from God. And I think often we're just so afraid of the pain and we're afraid of hurting and we're afraid of wrestling through because what's it going to look like on the other side? And I can't tell you what it will look like on the other side. I can tell you that I believe with all of my heart there's life on the other side. I don't know what the middle looks like, but whatever the end is, I think the end brings life. And just like Abram turned to Abraham, Simon was Peter, Saul turned to Paul. I think we all have a moment where our names are different and we are not the same. I'm not the same Andrea that grew up Assembly of God, that teethed on pews 4 days a week, that was at church till midnight. Like that's just the life I knew and thought I had to do all of these things and live my life so holy to expectations that I could not live up to because none of us can. I've told this story to some of you. I know that I've used it in a sermon before, but we have so many new people that I can't even keep track of who's heard my story and who hasn't. But I climbed a mountain once in Mexico, and my therapist will verify that this is the weirdest story she's ever heard, but she's like, it does happen. I walked up, and we're with this missionary, and it's just which you don't swear in front of missionaries. And we're walking, and I'm very tired because this hike is ridiculous. And I'm questioning everything out loud because at this point now I'm talking to myself because I'm delirious. And I'm like, all I wanted was a house in the suburbs. That's all I wanted, God. I just want to be married. I just want kids. I just want a family. I don't want to do all these crazy things like climbing a mountain. Why am I on this trip? And the missionary's like, oh, it'll be over soon. And I was like, no, F you. That's what I said, but not F. And he was like, okay, crazy lady. And, but I think, I had no defenses left. And it was the best time for me to have a wrestling moment with God. I couldn't fight. I was in the middle of nowhere. I was sweaty, stinky, thirsty, muddy, which if you know me, I hate mud. I hate rain so much. And it rained for 9 hours. And it was terrible. You can feel bad for me. I take it. It was terrible. In fact, I almost looked for a picture I have of me at the top of this mountain. And I looked. If anybody ever watched New Girl, there's this character, Nick, and he makes this turtle face. And I literally am making a turtle face. My hair is sweaty and it's all attached to my head. And somebody was like, what are your inspirational words, Andrea? I'm like, what? I'm like, I lived. That is my word. I climbed this mountain, and I know that I'm supposed to be all holy right now. We're going to go show this Jesus film, and we're bringing these people beans and whatever. But I lived. I survived. And I don't agree really with anything we're doing on this trip. But here I am at the top of a mountain with mild hypothermia at that point. So, and none of you need to go do that. Just wrestle with God in your house. It's fine. But I think I ended up on that trip and on that journey so that I could be a different person. Not because it was good for generally speaking, because I don't know how I feel about mission trips. Well, I do, but it's another story for another day. But you have to let God change you. That's the moral of that story. And I know that I'm rambling and staying on that point a lot, but I feel really strongly about it, that we can get to resurrection. And that's where we come in. And this is probably where I'm going to throw my notes away because I'm not even using them anymore. I know I don't know anybody well enough to make you come up here, but as a body, how far do I have for a leash on here? Can I step away? Will it make noises? Okay, great. That's better. Now I can see you. Great. Okay. Hi. As a body, what we do is that we are here to help each other and be community and to help each other wrestle through stuff. You don't have to be by yourself. And I think that as community, and I really think as Americans, we have learned to live life keeping everybody at arm's length. And I think we want to do that badly in every situation and in every group that we are with. But I don't think that's what God intended. You know, we look at the Acts Church and sharing what they had and getting, especially in our political climate that we're in, and this place in life that I don't think any of us pictured ever being in, where stories of the Holocaust begin to make sense about how it happened. And my goal was not to make this political today, but I think that we are going to need each other. I don't know what the future looks like, no idea, but I know that we don't have to do it by ourselves. And so those of us like in our personal lives where we have things that we're going through, like that, whether it's marital things, whether it's divorce, whether it's, I have a situation in my family where my niece, I think I can talk about her. She's fine with that because she loves me. But she's in the hospital right now, and this is her 8th or 9th time being in our behavioral health unit back home because she keeps trying to take her life because it's just really, I guess, really hard to get medications where they need to be and things like that. And she's young and a lot going on and a lot being decided right now about her future. And that's something I'm wrestling with daily. But she even more wrestles with it. And so we call her every day because I want her to know she's not by herself. So my application into giving you is two things. One, whatever you're wrestling with, don't stop. I do care if it hurts, but I don't care if it hurts. Because I promise that there's life and there's dawn, and because it's not going to stay night forever. Just like Jacob had a sunrise, the sun will rise. It rises every morning. And it will rise every morning for us. Some of our nights may seem a lot longer, but the sun will rise. The second thing is that as community, I'm going to ask you to do really uncomfortable things, like reach out to each other and to people you don't know very well. Like even when I see like maybe a post and it resonates with me a bit, just heart it. Or send a message, hey, I'm praying for you. Or hey, do you want to go to lunch? I know I don't know you very well. Maybe this would be a good time for me to get to know you. And I think the epitome, I think the ultimate one is just come to my house and sit at my dinner table. Come sit at my table. And I'm not great about inviting people, but just straight up right now, if you need a place, hey, Andrea, I'm coming for dinner. I will feed you something. It might be pizza from down the road, but I will feed you something. You aren't alone. And that was a really hard thing for me when I moved here. I didn't know anyone. I was single. And single isn't bad, but it's a lot lonelier when you don't know anyone. And I went to a church forever, and never once did a family invite me over. Never once did a family say, oh, you're alone at Thanksgiving? That's a bummer. That's what they said. That's unfortunate. Have a great time. And I don't say that to shame them. Not at all. But I think that we are at a place in our community where we have to let ourselves be a little uncomfortable and be vulnerable. It's hard, I know. It's easier for me because I'm like an Enneagram 4. But for some of us, it's really, really hard. And so my challenge to you is even this week, reach out to one person. Hey, I don't know you very well. And for the super introverted folks, I know that's really hard for you. But just a little message on Facebook. I'm not saying you have to invite the whole church over to your house, but let's know what's going on in each other's lives. Let's aim to be a little bit more vulnerable with each other, because as these times come that we don't know what it looks like, we're going to need each other because we're going to be wrestling through a lot of stuff. And let's wrestle together rather than by ourselves. And for those of us who are wrestling with things that only concern you, I'm going to pray for you right now. So, Father, thank you for your words. Thank you that you like to wrestle with us. Thank you that you come and you sit with us in the muck and the mire and the crap. And we don't do it by ourselves. So, Lord, help us to reach out to each other this week. For those who are going through things, I pray peace. That passes all understanding, and I don't use that phrase lightly at all, that whatever we are wrestling with, that you would bring peace. You would bring new perspective. You would help us take our scars and make them stories of our resurrection in life, and that our lives would shine you. We ask it all in your name. Amen.